Get on your knees, General, right now. That is what I heard over my son's casket, not the rifles, not the folding of the flag, just that shaking voice with a gun behind it on a foggy hill above the Pacific where I was supposed to say goodbye, not fight for my life. My name is General Alicia Harper, United States Army, 4 stars, decades in uniform. And that morning at Fort Rosecrans, I was not a symbol or a headline. I was just a mother trying not to come apart in front of my family and my soldiers, you know what I mean? The sky was that low gray where sea and clouds blur, wind moving through rows of white headstones like a slow breath. And my boy, Sergeant Marcus Jamal Harper, lay in that flag-draped coffin a few feet away, Bronze Star, age 32, the kid who used to race me up those same hills with laces untied and laughter so loud it embarrassed me. I locked my knees, fixed. My eyes listened to the chaplain read his name, felt my sister Sophia behind my shoulder and told myself, stand, breathe, hold the line. Then I heard tires on gravel. A cruiser door. Some young private murmured, local PD ma'am, perimeter check, nothing to worry about. I did not even look until he stepped into my line of sight, and then I saw the name tag, and the past hit like recoil. Voss. 15 years earlier in Kandahar, he was Specialist Derek Voss, the one who called a black sergeant a monkey in uniform, the one I reported, the one a panel threw out of the army. I remember his face as they stripped his rank like I had personally burned his life. Now here he was with a badge I did not give him and a gun I did not trust, walking between the chairs like he owned the ground. He stopped too close to the coffin eyes on my stars instead of my son's name. General, he said, thick with fake respect. Out here, those stars don't mean much. I told him, steady, Officer Voss, step back. This is a military funeral. You are out of line, Sophia whispered. Alicia, ignore him, but that old anger was already in the air. His hand dropped to his holster. Before anyone could process it, leather snapped steel. Cleared, kids gasped. Soldiers stiffened. Get on your knees, he barked, hands on your head now. He was not scared. This was a grudge coming due. People asked if I feared he would kill me. Truth is, I was more afraid one of my people would react and that hill would turn into a crossfire around my son's coffin. So when he fired that warning shot into the sky, when the casing rang on the stone and children screamed, I made a choice no manual prepares you for. I went down, slowly onto my knees, not for him, but to take the oxygen out of his moment, hands on my head, eyes on the flag. You have done enough damage in that uniform, I told him quietly. He leaned in, gun still up. You ruined my life, General, he hissed. Now I get to ruin yours. Behind him, a young veteran named Jamal Reed had his phone up live streaming for folks who could not be there. That stream kept running while a white cop held a black 4-star general on her knees beside her son's coffin, and whether anyone liked it or not, the whole world got invited. Then I heard move, and Lieutenant Mia Reyes came tearing across the grass, boots hitting stone, slammed his wrist, sent the gun skidding past a headstone, and my guards buried him in the gravel. He went down, cursing, spitting, you can't hide behind those stars forever, while my knees were still in the dirt. And I remember thinking, Derek, you just told on yourself in front of millions. By the time they stood me up and moved me to the command tent, Jamal's shaky video had already leapt across platforms. Inside, under harsh lights, they said, General, we need your statement, while my son's burial sat on hold behind tape. Sophia tried to hand me water. My hand shook too much. Elias, older now, came in and said, I knew he joined Port Crest PD. I heard he held a grudge. I told myself it wasn't my fight. You knew who he was and let him keep a badge in my backyard, I said. He had nothing to answer. Outside, strangers were chanting my name while the department did what wounded institutions do. First statement, unfortunate misunderstanding. Second, potential threat, complex scene. They pushed a cropped still where you could not see the coffin, just me and his gun hinted I might have reached. They labeled Jamal an agitator. They expected people to blink and move on. This time, people did not. Veterans stepped up. Reporters pulled his file. 12 complaints. Racial language force issues a gun pulled on a black reservist, all closed by the same supervisor. The twist was never just that he pointed a gun at me, it was that a system signed off on him again and again until he reached my son's grave. Then DOJ's civil rights team arrived, quiet and thorough. One evening, a young attorney opened a laptop at my kitchen table and said, General Harper, this is the original body cam. There I was, still my hands empty. There he was, already unbuttoned, whispering, say my name now, General, before he raised the weapon. That one line killed their confusion story. Around then, notes started appearing at my house. You'll pay leave, traitor. Sophia wanted to hide. I put each one in a folder. Evidence. I have seen rockets. Paper does not move me. At the same time, I got messages from officers, moms, kids in uniform saying, I have seen this. I am sorry it took you on your knees for me to believe it. Yeah, that happened. 8 months later, in a federal courtroom in San Diego 4C was packed with veterans media locals who had watched that video 100 times. I wore my uniform again because I refused to shrink for the comfort of a man who put a gun in my face. The prosecutor dimmed the lights and played the clip. Fog coffin gun my knees, the shot, the scream, Mia taking him down. Then he said, this is not a mistake. This is hatred wearing a badge. The defense called Voss a broken veteran, said he misread a threat in fog. Mia testified he aimed with intent. Elias admitted he stayed quiet too long. They laid out the complaints, the extremist chat logs, the notebook from his house with 4 stars and crosshairs. When I took the stand, they asked why I knelt. Because I have spent my life teaching discipline saves lives, I said, and I was not going to abandon that when it was my life on the line. The defense asked if I ruined Voss's career. No, his behavior did. Did he have reason to resent you? Resentment is not a legal defense. Then they let him speak. He said she humiliated me. I wanted her on her knees. I don't regret it. No apology, just confession. You could feel the jury lock in. They came back guilty on all counts, and the judge sentenced him to life without parole. Outside, people cheered. Inside, he turned and muttered, "You win." I told him my son is still dead, there is no winning. Months later, he died in prison, liver failure alone. Folks called it karma. I saw another life wrecked by a hatred too many people treated as an opinion. The thing that mattered more than his sentence was what we did with the moment. Jamal launched the Gun on Stars podcast, giving a mic to veterans and families failed by the system. Senator Carla Ruiz pushed the Harper Act through our state, mandatory bias and accountability training, public access to disciplinary records, and other states started copying it. We opened the Harper Foundation, downtown Marcus's Bronze Star hanging by the door, funding mental health care and legal aid for veterans of color who come home to battles nobody pinned a ribbon on. I spoke at academies and in Congress and told them plain, if a 4-star general can be held at gunpoint over her son's coffin and still have to prove she was the victim, then no rank, no child, no teacher, no neighbor is safe from this kind of power unless we change how we draw the line. When I stood before Congress months later, under that bright dome and all those cameras, I told them I was not there to play hero. I was there as a mother who had a gun pointed at her while she knelt over a coffin. And if that can happen to me, imagine the people it has happened to, with no rank, no live stream, no outrage, and you could feel the room shift, even if some of them would never admit it. That testimony ran on the news. Kids in ROTC wrote that they watched it in class. A few chiefs sent word they were changing policy. Young officers came up after trainings and said, "Ma'am, we are trying to be better than the ones who failed you." And I told every one of them the same thing. Then prove it when nobody is watching. I have had cops stop me in parking lots just to say they are ashamed to wear the same uniform as Voss, and I tell them, don't waste that shame on me. Use it the next time a partner crosses a line. Use it on the traffic stop when no one has a camera. Use it where it counts. I am not impressed by speeches anymore. I am watching for choices. Some people think the story ends clean because Derek Voss is gone and laws have names. It does not. I still walk that hill, still bring sunflowers, still feel stone under my knees some nights. But I also see young officers quoting the Harper Act like it means something, see kids at the foundation who believe they are worth defending. That is the real fight. So if you are still here with me, I want you to weigh in. Was life without parole justice, or did the system just toss one man away so it would not have to own every signature that protected him? Have you seen someone use a badge, a rank, a title to crush someone weaker or risk their career to do what is right? Did anyone hit record, or did everyone look down? Tell your story in the comments, agree with me, argue with me, but do not be quiet, because silence is how this almost became just another buried report. And if this story hit you, hit like, subscribe, share it with someone who still thinks this is all exaggerated. It is not. The only way we keep guns from pointing at the stars again is if all of us are willing to look straight at what happened on that hill and say out loud, this is not who we are willing to be.